Mario and Luigi Brothership released a few days ago to mixed reception. This game is the first new entry to the Mario and Luigi series since Paper Jam on the 3DS, which was then followed by a couple remakes, which then infamously led to Alpha Dream, the original developers of the series, going bankrupt. I have long been a fan of this series, with Superstar Saga being one of my favorite games ever made, so I want to give my thoughts on this newest entry after about 10 hours of play this weekend. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and let's get going. Some basic table setting: this game takes place in Concordia, a land that's been broken apart due to some, at the moment, unknown circumstances, and your job is to go around island to island and reconnect the world to your moving ship-shaped island called Ship-Shaped Island. So in general, I like to believe I'm a pretty positive person, so let's start out with what I like about Brothership and what I think it excels in, starting off with the good, not great parts of the game. As far as presentation goes, I'm a fan of Brothership. The Mario and Luigi games have a very distinct art style when it comes to the key art you see on the cover of the box, and Brothership I think does an admirable job of translating that to the 3D models in the game. I'm not going to try and advocate this game for prettiest game of the year or anything, but I do think it looks fun and interesting with plenty of color, and if anything, at least, I don't think it's boring. The music I think kind of falls on the same level as the art style for me so far. There are some tracks I think are pretty good, and there's some decent variety. It feels like each new area has its own unique theme, so you don't get stuck listening to anything for too long, and it gets old. But at the same time, I haven't quite had a certified bop come over the speakers yet. To bring up Superstar Saga again, the gold standard in my opinion, there are several songs in that game that I feel really amplify the experience, while so far in Brothership the music is supplemental, but mostly background and not something that really pushes it over the top for me. The thing that really shines in this game for me is the combat. The Mario and Luigi games have always been superior to their paper cousin when it comes to the turn-based battles in my opinion. The timing-based combat is a series staple, and so far Brothership has done well to build some new ideas on the already strong foundation. So if you haven't played one of these before, Mario is controlled with the A button while Luigi uses the B button. Cool thing here though is like your basic jump attack and hammer attacks now have some added interaction between the brothers using both buttons, as both brothers contribute to the attack when able, where in something like Superstar Saga, sorry to bring it up again, having a mix of A and B in the inputs was reserved just for the bros moves. I think, at least early on, this has helped make the combat feel a little bit more dynamic, using both buttons for standard attacks. That being said, the attacking half of the battling isn't even my favorite part of the Mario and Luigi games, it's the defending part. At a lot of turn-based games, I feel like you lose a lot of control when the enemy is attacking, sometimes getting the ability to time a block in games like Paper Mario, but in the Mario and Luigi games, it's much more dynamic and you get to dodge, deflect, and even counterattack pretty much every attack sent at you in the game. Enemies all have their own unique moves that you and the brothers have to learn and improve upon to take advantage of. Brothership has held up this secret sauce of the series admirably so far, and I have been really enjoying getting good enough to go into pretty much any encounter, taking no damage and turning all enemies' attacks back at them. Brothership is a pretty traditional leveling system and some pretty standard stats: HP, BP, attack, defense, speed, and one fun stat in Stash, which controls how often you get lucky attacks, basically your critical hit rate. Each brother excels in 3 of the 6 stats, Mario with BP, attack and speed, and Luigi with HP, defense, and stash, but I would like to quickly contest that and say that I do think Mario has the better stash, but I don't mind throwing Luigi a bone every now and then. When I leveled up for the first time, I was saddened to see a lack of bonus stats, another series staple where when you get to choose a stat upon level up to get a little extra points each time, but Brothership introduces its own new mechanic that I think is actually a little bit more interesting with the level rank system. Basically every 7 or 8 levels you rank up, starting at Mushroom, then Shell, then Boomerang Flower, and so on, and upon each rank you get to pick one significant change to implement to each brother as a permanent, unchangeable upgrade. So for example, when I went from Mushroom to Shell rank, I got to choose between a few options, including making stash points go up more each level going forward, get 20% more EXP, or be able to equip an extra piece of equipment. It is very clear that this is a permanent option you cannot change later, so I had to actually sit there and think about this for quite a while, and it added some weight to the decision. I ended up going with the ability to have more accessories equipped at once because I figured that was probably a better option when all was said and done in the late game. The last thing I want to touch on with the combat is the plug system. I just unlocked this where I'm at in the game, so I needed to experiment a little bit more with it, but it's basically a system where you can add some extra flavor to the combat to suit your playstyle. An example of this would be you can add the iron ball plug, where when you get an excellent timing on the standard attack, an iron ball will drop on the enemy's head to do some additional damage. These plugs can also interact and combo with each other. One of the earliest combos is mixing that iron ball plug I mentioned with a plug that allows your hammer to have splash damage with good timing. And when used together, the splash damage will cause the iron ball to fall on all enemies affected. I'm excited to see what other options open up with the system as time goes. Now, the downside of this cool new plug system is that it makes the game even easier than it already is. So let's start getting into the negatives. Brothership is a very easy game so far. So easy, in fact, I was trying to get one of the in-game challenges, which I'll get into soon, that required me to defeat 300 enemies with no gear or equipment, so I just started playing the game like that, and even without any stat increases or abilities from gear, I never once got anywhere close to getting a game over, even against the admittedly very fun, but challenge-lacking bosses I fought so far. Once I got that challenge, I put all my best gear on, and it was basically like when Goku took all the weights off. I don't think I'm going to be tested at all at this rate. I'm cleaning house every fight, and then the game introduces a new system that allows me to pick on the enemies even more. I love the feeling of becoming overpowered in an RPG. I don't love the feeling of just being overpowered from the start. But at least the combat is easy in a fun way. The overworld exploration and the puzzles included in that can't quite claim that same title. Most paths are fairly linear, with some short dead ends here and there to look down to get items. Any hidden collectibles or boxes along the way have been found without even really having to think or go out of my way at all that much. And when you do open a question block that's kind of tucked away, most of the time it's just more consumable items, making it not feel all that special. Every now and then you'll get a new hammer or some equipment, which is a little better. This lack of good rewards has bled into the side quest and challenge systems as well, which have been very basic so far, nothing very interesting, just kind of go back and talk to somebody, maybe fight a basic enemy, and get some basic items. Hopefully later game things can bring some challenging optional bosses or something like that, but I'm not going to hold my breath. The challenge system is similarly light. Other than the no gear challenge I mentioned earlier, most of the challenges are just do X thing Y number of times, and I'm going to meet them all naturally, no real challenge to speak of. Every once in a while exploring or otherwise progressing through the game, you'll get some sort of puzzle or minigame. Some of the minigames have done a good job of breaking up the pace a bit and keeping things fresh. Some of the puzzles, if you want to call them that, have been pretty not great. These are often paired along with a new mechanic called Luigi Logic, where Luigi and his profound thinking skills will show you a path forward, but most of the time, it's pretty clear and obvious what you're supposed to be doing here. It kind of brings a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse kind of vibe to the game, where you're forced to sit there and be handheld through very simple tasks. Luigi also comes with some inconsistent AI hiccups. You can't directly control Luigi's movement in this game, instead only ever controlling Mario and using the L button to direct Luigi to go do stuff when you walk by things he can interact with, like breaking boxes or pulling up turnips for coins. One of the most egregious of these goofy AI moments was when I was presented with one of the game's very simple puzzles. I had to step on 8 colored panels that were numbered 1 through 8 in order and colored red and green. It's pretty clear the solution is stepping on the numbers in order with the associated brother for whatever color the panel was. But I actually failed this in the first try because Luigi didn't wait for me to step on the next red panel and just went from one green panel to the next, breaking the sequence and making me have to retry. The game has a handful of other quirks that alone don't make me dislike the game, but when added together start to drag down an otherwise enjoyable experience. Things like long load times when entering and exiting all battles. Not being able to use the B button while navigating menus in battle while controlling Luigi, instead of having to use the A button like Mario. And this last one made me mad. I was walking around the town and wanted to smack this toad with a hammer just for fun, and it tells me no, you can't do that. What is this? What happened to the game that I love? And as I near the end of this video now, I realized I didn't touch on the story of the game at all, and I think that's kind of fitting. The story's been pretty unremarkable so far. No great new notable characters like Prince Peasley. The writing has been meh so far, without the same caliber jokes and funny conversations that Mario RPGs are known for. It's not actively bad, but it's just kind of there. I'll save final judgments for that when I roll credits, however. Thanks for watching. Overall, I'm enjoying Brothership so far, with the battle system and presentation carrying me through the somewhat lackluster exploration and story. I hope that part of the game can grab me a little more as it goes and develops, but if it doesn't, at the very least, I'm having fun jumping on people's heads and smacking them with hammers. If you like this video, don't forget to throw a like below, consider subscribing, and if you have any thoughts or disagreements on the game, please let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.